fancy a bit of a trip through France. Oh, sorry, I've deselected there. Shall we go to France, everyone? Why don't we go to France? I hope you guys are all doing very well. I wanted to play Euro Truck Sim for... just check the sound levels a sec. I wanted to play it for a little while. No, it's alright, yeah. Because I like it as something which allows me to... That's weird. Just chat about random stuff while I'm driving, you know? And I've got a lot of random stuff to talk about. Oh god. Who would have thought my greatest challenge was just getting out? Here we go. Okay. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff to kind of talk about once we get on the open road. I guess I'll start, because this is always the tricky part, like getting the trailer and stuff. Well, not the trailer, but the cargo, I guess. Had to be roadworks, didn't there? Okay. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing pretty well. I'm doing good. I'm super busy at work at the minute because there's lots of people on holiday. And it's been way busier than expected. Sorry, it's the blue car. Listen, I know I'm about to drive. It's not there, because that's about hiring drivers. Oh yeah, I still forgot to get it serviced. No, we'll be alright. Probably keep saying at the end of every video, oh yeah, I need to get that serviced. Always forget. Okay. So because we've got our own trailer, we'll go to the cargo market, make a bit more cash. And yeah, we'll take that one. Okay, where do we need to go to? Okay. Towards the green flag on your map. Okay. I like skipping it. I do like skipping it. Yes, it's cheaty, but you know. Okay, let's get inside the cabin. There we go. Right. I don't know what my... Okay, good. I don't know which gripers are on there, but they were. Okay. So let's get out of Edinburgh. Edinburgh, as all the locals call it. They don't. I'm 100% sure they don't call it Edinburgh. Hey, where you from, dude? I'm from Edinburgh. That's how Americans would say it. Edinburgh, perhaps as well. But yeah, I'm in England as well, so I can drive on the left. It feels good. It feels natural. Of course, we're going to France, so those heathens drive on the right, and we'll have to. I guess we'll have to follow those rules. Why couldn't England have just, keep up their dominance of the world, and then we could have just made everybody drive on the left, couldn't we? It's crazy to think, like, the country you live in now, which, like, are the countries we control abroad. Not countries, but well, kind of countries. Gibraltar, I guess, the Falkland Islands. There's probably a couple of others I'm not that aware of. And we used to basically control like a third of the world almost. I think it was like a third of the world, or like 20%, 25% maybe. Like a large chunk of it, like large swaths of Africa, America at one point, India obviously, all those areas as well. And not in a nice way either, in a real shitty way. So I'm kind of glad we don't control those areas now, but also it's kind of weird to think, like, what must it have been like? If you talk about something like white privilege nowadays, imagine what that was like, a few hundred years ago. Jesus, scary. are we only going 30? Oh, there we go. We picked up. Okay. So, yeah, usually I just like these videos to just enable me to just chat randomly while driving along the road. Looks like we're going to have to sleep in a few hours, I guess. Do we need petrol as well? Now we'll make it to the next rest stop, I'm sure, anyway. Because it's quite a relaxing game, Euro Truck Sim, to just kind of drive around in. There's actually a new DLC coming towards the end of this year. I believe it says 2018 anyway, and they usually release one kind of November-y. And it's going to be kind of more Eastern Europe, so it's going to include parts of Russia. It's going to have Finland, it's going to have Latvia, Lithuania, I believe. Really, really interesting. Looking forward to that. Even more kind of east than what we've got. It's going to have St. Petersburg, I believe. I think it's got Moscow, but don't quote me on that. It might not have Moscow, it might just have St. Petersburg, because Russia's pretty big. But, you know, we are moving towards my kind of dream of being able to drive from, like, Scotland to Japan, almost, you know, via a ferry. Or maybe even linking up with you know, American Truck Sim. I mean, I don't know how much longer they're going to develop for Euro Truck Sim 2. I guess it depends on how well the expansions sell. If they still sell well, I mean, I'll still buy them. But if they still sell well, then I guess they'll continue to make them. And maybe if they start seeing a significant drop in them, then you know, then maybe we'll start work on Euro Truck Sim 3, or it could be they already are. I wouldn't put it past them, because it's been out for a while. And they have probably sold, like, if you haven't picked up a copy of Euro Truck Sim by now, I don't know what to say, because it's literally been on sale for like $2.99. So if you get to a point where you're like, that's too much for me, then nothing will ever be like cheap enough other than free. And even then, I don't think people who won't buy it for $2.99 would be like, oh yeah, let's pick it up because it's free now, let's try this out. Because what is, like, whoops, $2.99 really? You know, people say, oh, it's the price of a coffee. Well, in London, like, a coffee would probably cost you more than that if you had a fancy coffee anyway. If you just had a normal one, no. So yeah, yeah, I guess from the channel point of view, we hit 5k subs, which is nice. Always nice. I'm not one massive one for milestones. Like, I'm not gonna be like every single time I hit a target, be like, yeah, you know, let's do this, let's celebrate, whatever. Because, like, none of it really means anything. The problem with YouTube is, I think it did used to mean something many years ago, but now it's so, like, things are so fleeting almost that on YouTube, you know, that it just doesn't even really matter, you know. And like, there's so many people now with more subs than me. I'm probably not even in the top million channels on YouTube right now. But what does mean something to me, I guess, is the fact that I did it my way, and I did it in a good way. So I've never, easy engine, I've never spammed, I've never clickbaited, I've never you know, chosen the lowest common denominator just to get clicks and views. You know, I've never created drama or just done anything that would, you know, nefarious to try to boost my subs or view count. And for that I'm proud, because I have some videos with a nice amount of views on them. And you know, as a channel, it's something I can look back on and be proud of. And you could argue that if I had maybe gamed the system, even if in a slightly, you know, legal way, as it were, or a way which sticks towards YouTube guidelines, you know, I might have double my subscribers now, or triple or quadruple. But I don't think I'd feel as proud as I do. So that's the real nice thing, you know. I can sit there and know that people who've subscribed to me have done so because they liked a video. That's it. You know, seen my channel, they've probably watched a video. I mean, I hope so. I don't know why you would subscribe to a channel without watching a video. That's a bit weird for me. I guess you could argue that if you're a fellow content creator, you might want to check out other people, but also surely you'd still watch their videos. I don't know. I want to take it slow past this, past the pigs, past the roses, as we call them in the UK. Oh dear, that was a smash. Oh dear, hopefully everyone's okay involved. Yeah, so that's good. You know, it's not just you know, the amount of times it used to be a much bigger thing than it is now. When I first started, it was like a massive thing of like sub for sub. It's such a pathetic thing. It really is. Like, oh, if you sub to me, I'll sub to you. It's like it means nothing. Like, you're devaluing your channel. Literally, you're devaluing it. It's like printing your own money. People are like, oh, that's great. Print your own money. Brilliant. Like, if you're the government, why don't the government just print their own money? Because you devalue what that money is worth, which leads to hyperinflation, which leads to countries collapsing. If you watch any history lessons or look at Zimbabwe right now, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, that's essentially what it does. It devalues your channel, and so I've never ever done anything like that. Certainly never. And this is the thing which really I really don't get, is the paying for subs and views, the paying for likes on social media and that type of thing. I'm actually going to stop and sleep, because otherwise we might not be able to. Might as well get some petrol while we're here. Petrol and a Kingster's pasty. Yeah, but I think paying for subscribers, views, likes, clicks, whatever it is, whatever media platform it is, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, anything, it's just pathetic. It genuinely is pathetic. Imagine that. Imagine not having any faith in yourself that you could actually produce content that people want to watch, and people always turn around and go like, oh yeah, but I'm not happy. Okay, let's go. Beautiful day though, isn't it, actually? Beautiful English day. I don't know if it's an English summer's day, because what's the date? It just says Thursday. It's not really good enough to tell what season it is. Yeah, that's like the lowest of the low, and I don't understand that. I know people might be like, oh well, what it is it gives you a bit of a kickstart, but it's like, well, this isn't the point. The point is to make videos that people enjoy. If you're having to pay people to click on your videos or enjoy them or leave comments on your Instagram, like, you've completely negated the point. It's like playing a video game. It's like playing Euro Truck Simulator and entering a cheat code which gives me £10 million, and then I go out and I buy the best truck and everything like that. Sure, for the next hour or so I'm going to be loving it, because I'm like, I've got the best truck, I can choose any truck I like, and then it'll suddenly kick in to go, oh, the whole game is about building up to that. Yeah, I've kind of ruined the whole game. And that's how I feel about people who do things like that. It's like, the whole enjoyable thing about YouTube is the engagement with people, and people enjoying your videos and putting something up that you're proud of and then watching it. You're basically entering a cheat code in, and so it makes everything you do worthless in one foul swoop. And yeah, I think people probably are quite miserable who actually do things like that. Like, I think they probably I mean, maybe they've just got more money than sense and they don't care, but I think they also probably have mental problems, because that sort of having to feel maybe that adoration from people by buying it is a bit sad, isn't it? And I don't mean that as in oh, that's sad. I mean, that's actually sad to see. So yeah, if I do a video and it gets 100 views, or back when I started, if a video got 25 views or something like that, I'd be like, well, hopefully that's 25 people who enjoyed the video. I know it's not really the way it works. Probably only about 5 or 10 who actually watched the video. Every time I leave my phone on, I swear to God. Shut up, phone. Let me just... There we go. There we go. Sorry. It's my girlfriend. Blame her for daring to message me. But yeah, she was actually messaging me about something else which I watched today, which I actually want to talk about as well a little bit during this video, which was I watched Shane Dawson's first episode of his kind of mini docu-series on Jake Paul, which I know, like, the Paul brothers are obviously two of the most polarising people, not just on YouTube, but possibly on Earth, possibly on the planet. You know, there's probably nobody who sits in the middle ground, you know, other than people who don't know them, I guess. But probably most of the people are either like, I dislike this person or I like this person. There's not really people who are a bit like, meh, you know. I can see why he appeals, but it's not for me, you know. But fair play to him. Like, there's either people who are just like, I don't like what he does, or I love what he does. And I'm in the camp of I don't like what he does. Obviously, I think if you're over the age of 14, 15, you probably sit in that camp. But hey, let me tell you this: there's a lot of people on YouTube who are under that age. I'm not saying they all like Jake Paul as well. I'm sure there's a lot out there with good taste, but you know, him and his brother are... I knew I was going to get caught speeding. I knew it. I suddenly saw my speed and I went, oops. Never mind. Yeah, him and his brother are just so polarising, and you know, Shane Dawson's a person who is much liked, I guess, on YouTube. He was, you know, he's been on YouTube a long time. He's, you know, he's done a lot of interesting things and brought a lot of attention on subjects which need attention. I can't honestly say I'm a big fan of his in terms of, you know, I'm not actually even subscribed to him, I don't think. No, I'm not. It just happened to appear in trending, I think, so I watched the video. But my girlfriend does watch a lot of his stuff. She enjoyed, I think, the documentaries he did on Tanner Mo, whatever her name is, and Jeffree Star as well. They're not people who I enjoy, so I obviously didn't watch them myself. But you know, it is interesting, and I think a lot of people were worried that he was going to do a kind of like a, you know, like go soft on maybe Jake Paul and not do something which actually looked into it. Now, I can't say I particularly liked necessarily some of the direction that the episode went in. So the first episode was him talking about, I guess, why he wanted to do it, and talking a little bit of the backlash he got from doing it, talking about his own thoughts on Jake Paul, and you know, he kind of admitted that he didn't know anything really about him, and he was surprised that Jake Paul wanted to kind of do this kind of series with him, and that he wanted to get the lowdown on him from some other people. And so I believe in this episode he talked to a kind of like, I guess you would call it like a YouTube channel which covers drama. I can't remember the name of it. It was an English guy, and I think in the next episode he's going to talk to a psychologist and also to the guy who was like, I think he was like Jake Paul's manager or something like that, anyway, who isn't anymore, and they fell out. Now, one of the recurring themes, and a word which probably cropped up most on the channel, was the word sociopath. And, you know, Shane's kind of intrigued to know whether or not Jake Paul is actually a sociopath. for those who don't know what a sociopath is, because it does get confused with people with like psychopath and things like that. People associate with being something bad. It's not necessarily bad to be a sociopath. What it generally means is you wouldn't really feel empathy towards other people, so you might do things which might hurt other people, but you just wouldn't be, your brain isn't programmed to care. Okay, it's not to say you don't care, and often sociopaths, because they don't really have the empathy of hurting other people, they can be quite manipulative, and they can be aggressive in some ways. Like, it's not traits which we would necessarily value, but it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody can't function well in society if they have like sociopathic kind of tendencies. It's not as much as quite as bad as being like a psychopath, you know. And I feel like the way he was kind of branding the word around was to already kind of like label Jake Paul as it. And he, in this episode, the first episode, he has not spoken to Jake Paul at all. But what he's kind of judging him on, I guess, is what other people are saying, and his videos and his actions and stuff like that, and kind of crop it up. And then he's going to talk, I guess, to a psychologist who I would assume would probably say, yeah, judging from this, you know, Jake Paul is this, is that. And I think it's interesting because the kind of the way it's given across at the minute is as if Jake Paul is a sociopath, but that's kind of the life he chooses, which is not the case. Like, often with like people with like sociopathic tendencies, the reason why they're like that is because of things which have happened to them across their life. So traumatic childhood, you know, large events, things like that, you know, go through their life, you know, or just, you know, to grow up, I guess, in circumstances very different to what you would call normal people. And I guess that 100% is the case with, you know, the Paul brothers, you know, being in the kind of showbiz world. And I think like, you know, and also with like sociopaths, they have this like inflated self-worth, you know, so they think they're generally more important than other people. Okay, there's a car here. What's he doing? Okay, good. He stopped. And I can understand that, you know, you could argue that about a lot of like YouTubers, where, you know, because of the numbers they see flying, because of the adoration they're given, that's the kind of thing. You know, if you look at maybe like some actors, or, you know, especially younger actors, or pop stars, you know, Justin Bieber springs to mind, start doing kind of quite outlandish things, I guess, once they become famous, going from being maybe somebody who would be called relatively normal to having, you know, to doing very odd things. And Justin Bieber, I think, is a prime example of that. And so, you know, this kind of sociopathic thing, it kind of felt like that with the tone of it, they were kind of implying that this is something that Jake Paul wanted to do or wanted to become, and not something that he was kind of made into, which is kind of what I feel is kind of along that way with him and his brother, is because of the stardom they got early on in their life, and maybe not having the family and support around them, and family and friends around them to, you know, ground them a little bit, have just kind of flown off the rails. I don't know them. I don't think we will know personally, because you know, if they do end up, you know, if I'm sure when we actually do see Shane Dawson actually talk to Jake Paul, it won't really be an honest conversation, will it? Like, he's not going to turn around and be like, oh yeah, no, I totally am, because, you know, this happened when I was growing up, or this happened, and, you know, I mean, it's not going to be like that, is it? It's going to be more of a charm offensive, I'm sure, but I kind of feel like the first episode was a bit weird in that respect, because it very much felt like it was, I don't like trying to oh shit, I just went the wrong way, didn't I? Okay, well, I have to, I guess, go down this way and turn around. Whoops. I'm sure there'll be a junction we can turn around on. Yeah, look, there we go. It's just up here anyway, so no biggie. Don't worry, no biggie. Oh, nice sunflower field. Yeah, I kind of felt like it was a little bit like subliminally kind of like trying to get across the point of like, no, he definitely is like a sociopath and that's bad, and you know, made me feel a little bit uneasy watching it in a way. I got those out, like Jake Paul felt about it. I mean, maybe he just appreciated the attention, I don't know. You know, and they made a lot of not what I would call allegations, but a lot of stuff which they were talking about. Like, for example, they were talking about the Team 10 and, you know, this house that they lived in. So they, if you don't know, the Team 10 was this like bunch of like creators which kind of like all kind of like roomed together, I guess, in a house, and the lineup kind of changes because people are kind of going off and doing other things, and the general idea is they kind of maybe like feed off each other's fame. So, you know, they might be doing videos with each other and stuff like that, and they were saying a lot of them weren't necessarily YouTube stars, they come from other things like acting, singing, dancing, that type of stuff, and then in a way they kind of like feed off of Jake Paul's fame, you know, by being associated with him, which gives them a kickstart in their own careers. And they were talking about, oh, you know, there's allegations that people might be paying to like go into this house, and it's like, of course they are. Like, in what feasible world would they not be? Like, you think, like, it doesn't make any sense to me that somebody would even see that as like a bad thing. Like, essentially, like they're saying like, oh, I think it was like Jake Paul's ex-girlfriend alleged that, yeah, everybody is paying 20% of their earnings to Jake Paul, and it's like, okay, that's kind of called having an agent in a way. Alright, 20% is a lot. Yeah, not gonna lie, that's a lot, but also you're signing the contracts, so but also, like, I mean, a lot of these people wouldn't have got a kickstart if it wasn't for Jake Paul. Like, I know it kind of sounds like I'm on the side of Jake Paul here, which is weird, but I also think like that it's a bit weird that they would be trying to just make out that this was like some heinous crime when it's like, no, this goes on all the time. Do you not understand? Like, there are a lot of people on YouTube who charge for collaborations. Like, you know, they'll be like, and I'm not talking about like, you know, the YouTubers you hate, probably some of the ones you like, who, you know, might be approached and then they'll be like, oh yeah, you know, it'll cost you 500 quid to do this video with me or whatever, but you'll get the exposure out of it. Or, you know, think about it in a different way, like how many you know, people do brand deals. You know, I see a lot of, say, tech YouTubers, and I watch a lot of that because I like it, and a lot of them have sponsorships with companies who they review products of, and everyone's okay with that. I'm not saying they're doing anything nefarious, I'm not at all. I'm just saying everyone's okay with that. And so to turn around and be like, okay, well, you know, the basic idea, I guess, of the Team 10 house, I would imagine, would be Jake Paul sets it up as a kind of like creative hub, you know, to create videos, content with people, to get people in who are interesting and will, you know, contribute ideas and things like that. And because they obviously kind of feed off him, or he's the manager, he puts them in contact with people, or, you know, does all this kind of other stuff, and probably puts them up in the house. You know, he takes a percentage of their earnings. Now, whether or not you think 20% is too much or not, you know, that's up for debate. That's like saying, you know, do nurses get paid too little or too much for their job? You know, do footballers get paid too little or too much? Well, that's irrelevant to the actual job of it, and the actual baseline to say that he does that. If he does do that, I don't really see a problem with that, because that is a mutually like beneficial contract. Jake Paul essentially makes people on YouTube. He promotes them. They become way bigger. You know, he talked about how his girlfriend, you know, got 200,000 subs in one day when she started a YouTube channel. Like, literally, that would not have happened if she wasn't his girlfriend. And I use girlfriend, and if I wasn't driving this truck, I'd be making my fingers use air quotation marks, because you know, there could be nefarious kind of, not nefarious, but like that might be one of those like relationships that is set up for beneficial gain, which happens a lot in like Hollywood as well, a lot. So, you know, don't think that this is something that Jake Paul has suddenly like come up with on his own, because it ain't. And I'm pretty sure that probably the people around him were also, probably even came up with the idea of it and said, hey, this would be a cool idea to do. So, and I mean, at the end of the day, like they said, like the house he rented, it cost $17,000 a month in rent. So when you think about it, if these YouTubers are maybe earning a few thousand a month, I don't know how much they're all earning, to be completely honest with you, but say, for example, they're earning $5 grand a month from YouTube. If he takes 20%, that's $1,000. So if there's like another 7 or 8 of them, that's like 7 or 8,000. That doesn't even come close to covering the rent. So, I don't know. The way they put it was like this was a horrendous thing that he did, and I was thinking to myself, like, it just seems like a sensible business practice to me. And a lot of people who have left the Team 10 house, you know, then go on and do videos saying about how bad Jake Paul is, how controlling he is, how nasty he is, and all this kind of stuff. And again, you don't know how much of that to take as from face value, do you? Like, the stuff about being controlling, I can kind of understand. Like, I think one of them was saying, like, oh, you know, he expects you, if you're not up by 10 AM making videos, you get fined $50. Well, it kind of sounds like he's trying to instill some sort of discipline into young people's lives to say, like, look, you've got to go out there and craft if you want to be big on YouTube. You've got to make videos, and you know, you can't lay in bed all day and then get up and make some shoddy crap, because that will come back and influence his brand as much as anything, you know. So I kind of understand that one. And what else were they saying? I mean, the stuff about the bullying and stuff like that, obviously that's pretty horrendous. If he does all that, they were talking about, oh, that's right, people, they said, oh, no one can come around to the house unless they are authorised by Jake Paul, so you have to clear it with him. And I was thinking, like, he pays the rent. Like, don't get me wrong, if I'm you know, nobody knows what the business deal is there with people paying rent, etc. So they could be living in that house rent free, and it could also have been a problem in the past where somebody invited over a load of people, maybe they had a party, trashed the house, and Jake's like, look, from now on, you know, we can't have this going on. You know, I'm paying the rent here, it's my house, you know, you need to run through me who's coming over, you know, just drop me a text or something. Like, there's so many ways you can look at these different things and go, that doesn't seem so bad. Like, if you were, you know, if you live with your parents or something like that, and you wanted a friend to come and stay over the night, would you just do it, or would you speak to them first and be like, hey, is it alright if my friend Dave comes over and, you know, we're going to play some video games and he's going to stay over? And your parents might be like, yeah, sure, that's fine, or they might be like, no, it's a school night, you can't do that, or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't popular enough to have friends over at school. But my point is that what is my point? No, but my point is, a few of the things people were saying, I was like, that ain't so bad, is it? You're just trying to spin it in a way which seems really bad when it isn't really bad. So I'm a little bit kind of dubious about how that, about, you know, taking what these people are saying with a pinch of salt, because it's like, look, why should everybody believe what these people are saying and not what Jake Paul is saying? Because these people who are saying it are in the same boat. Like, they're trying to get views, they're trying to hustle their way on YouTube, they're trying to, you know, make the most of whatever talents they've got, whether it's the fact that they're very attractive or whether it's the fact that they are, you know, actually talented at making videos, which doesn't often seem to be the thing. Just generally seems to be that they're attractive. I mean that in a male and female way. So I'm like, well, that's like I don't necessarily believe that. And also, if you know, if I made a video now and it was entitled 10 Reasons Why I Hate Jake Paul, I guarantee it would probably be my like highest like viewed video on YouTube. So, you know, his name gets you clicks, you know, same with Logan Paul, like how many people came out and made videos about how much they disliked or how atrocious it was that he filmed that body in the suicide forest. A suspiciously large number of people who have never even met the guy, probably watched any of his other content, suddenly came out with videos saying how bad it was because they knew that would get views. Like they knew they could get up there on their moral high horse, get the views and move on. And I'm not saying that obviously what he did was right, it wasn't clearly. I don't think I needed to watch 90 different videos saying how bad it was to know that it was bad, because it was bad, you know. So I kind of feel like in a way that the like I don't think Jake Paul is like, I don't think it's you know, going on YouTube to listen to whether or not people think someone is a good person is like going to a Catholic church and asking them which religion is the best religion. Like, there's a vested interest, okay? It's weird that people would do that, you know? It's weird that people would trust the views of anyone on YouTube when they have a vested interest as to whether or not to say this person's good or bad. Like, how many times do we actually see someone make a video about somebody who maybe has been involved in a controversy or something like that, where they say, actually, you know what, I know this guy and he's always been really nice to me and he's always been a good person, and he might well have done this thing which isn't very nice, but I'm still going to be friends with him because yeah, I can forgive him for doing that. And as I said, I don't think that's, you know, really the person he is. Like, it's exceptionally rare we ever see that, because the person making that video would then be targeted, you know, to do that. So they have a vested interest to not do that. They have an interest to turn around and be like, hey, I'm going to make a video just to turn around and say how much, you know, I dislike what you did and how wrong it is and all that kind of stuff. Because that's the way it is. Like, we saw the thing which I kind of found a bit funny, my girlfriend was telling me about, was with this guy Jeffree Star, who I had no idea who this guy was, but he does like vlogs, I guess, and he has like a makeup range as well. He's a pretty strange individual. Well, I wouldn't say strange, I'd say unique would be the polite way of saying it. He's a very unique individual, a unique look, a unique way about him, and he's gone on to be exceptionally successful in his life, so absolutely fair play to him. But he had some friends, and then they kind of like, shall we say, turned on him a little bit, and then they kind of like released this photo. It was kind of slagged. It was a whole weird thing. They kind of accused him of saying a lot of racist thing, and he had already kind of admitted that he had said a lot of racist stuff, but that wasn't the person he was now. Like, he was just uneducated, if you like, about the whole situation, which is okay. It's okay to say that. Like, I can turn around and say that, like, when I was a kid at school or whatever, I probably used the term, oh, that's gay, like, a lot, because I was a kid. I didn't comprehend, you know, about the struggles of people who are homosexual in this world at all, you know, and I don't use that as a term or an insult anymore, because it just is so stupid to do that. But obviously, like, when I was like a lot younger at school, I wouldn't have even comprehended that. It's a different world you live in there, you know, and some people don't get out of that world for a lot longer in their life, you know. I'm sure, and I'm absolutely sure, there are people who I used to be friends with who are still going around and maybe using that as an insulting term to people and stuff like that. Because either maybe they live in a, you know, small little town somewhere, or they're just, you know, have been, I don't know, kind of brainwashed into that type of thing, or maybe they just literally haven't grown up at all, you know. But yeah, and it was interesting, and then this one girl made like an apology video because of it, and then it was like really fake. Like it seemed really fake, and that kind of made it worse for her. It's just this whole thing with YouTube is just kind of bizarre. Like, yeah, the way I feel about it is, you can only be yourself. The second you start pretending to be something else, is when people will turn on you. Because if you're yourself, you never have to worry about the lies you told. You know, someone used to say that to me. They said like, the problem with lying is you have to remember the lies you told, or else you're going to get caught out, and it escalates. You know, because you keep telling lies, and people catch you out, and they catch you out, and they catch you out, and it's the same way if you put on a personality. Like people will come at you and catch you out, and if you're there, you know, whether it's on, you know, the things I love are like when you go on Reddit and somebody posts something, and then, you know, the first comments are always, hey, so I looked up like OP's history, and it turns out that, you know, this is a complete lie. They're actually a 14-year-old kid in, you know, this part of the world or whatever it is, and you're just like, man, do you not know people will check this out? And it's the same way, like, if some of Jeffree Star's ex-friends went on like Twitter and were like talking about how, you know, he was saying racist things, and then people just brought up screenshots of their like you know, social media history on Twitter and stuff like that, where they had said racist things, and it's like, do you honestly believe that you live in a world where you can get up on your high horse and no one's going to try and bring you down? Because they will bring you down to the ground, you know. People love doing that, you know. I admit I like watching it, but you know, we live in a world where people love to put people up on a pedestal, and then they love to tear that pedestal down again, you know, and rip them apart, and they love to be the moral judgment of like what is good, what is bad, this is good, this is bad, if you're not this, you're bad, you know, and if you're this, you're good, and that's it. And then you know, it's weird, it is weird, you know. And then if it's like, say for example, Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby is an example of somebody who has done terrible things in his life. Terrible, terrible things. He's gone to prison recently, rightly so, for, you know, serious sexual crimes against women. Does that mean that I'm not allowed to laugh at a Bill Cosby stand-up? Does that mean that I'm not allowed to watch an episode of The Cosby Show and think that it's good? Does that mean that, you know, am I not allowed to say, you know, Bill Cosby was a genius? Because I feel like there has to be more of a disconnect between the work people do and the person they are. Like, I believe it's okay to say, you know, that artist has made fantastic work, but they are a very flawed individual. Like, they are not a good person. You know, they don't do things which, you know, will endear themselves to people, or they do things which are against the law, or they do things which are just morally wrong. You know, there are certain things we can all agree are morally wrong, and sexual assault is definitely one of those things. But does it mean that you have to completely, you know, disassociate yourself with the artist? I don't know. And I'll give you another example as well. Is there was a band in the UK called Lost Prophets, and I used to really like them when I was growing up. I say growing up, I was probably like mid-20s, and I still liked them a lot. And I really liked their music. I listened to it a lot. They made some really good songs. And then I think it was maybe like 5 to 7 years ago now, the lead singer of the band was found out to be a paedophile, and he did terrible, terrible things, and went to jail. I've never been able to listen to a song of theirs since then, despite genuinely liking it. And there's other members of the band who did absolutely nothing wrong, but I can't listen to a single song of that because of the horrible things that the lead singer there did. And I can't disassociate the crimes with the art. You know, it's weird. I don't know. On the one hand, I can turn around and say like, you know, I could watch. I don't know. I don't know who else it is that's probably like flawed as a person, but you know, if you look at someone like, I'm trying to think of like a famous artist who was an arsehole, or say Kevin Spacey. Okay, Kevin Spacey is quite a good example. Kevin Spacey, I'm not sure if he's been convicted or if he's still like is still like being investigated or what, but like he obviously has been alleged to commit some, you know, again, horrible sexual crimes. That doesn't mean I can't turn around and say he is a fantastic actor. In some ways, that actually kind of backs up that theory, because he had to act his way through life to try and seem like a normal person to a lot of people. You know, he's probably a borderline sociopath as well. It doesn't mean, you know, I can't watch a Kevin Spacey movie and go, yeah, that guy's an actor. It does mean I'd probably feel uncomfortable now to watch him. But part of acting is that you don't play yourself, otherwise it's not acting. So it's a difficult quandary. I'm not sure how I came from Jake Paul onto this now, but yeah, I did anyway. So, but from like the point of view with Jake Paul is to say, like, I'm going to watch the rest of the parts of the series with interest. I don't think it matters what happens in this series. Nothing will happen to Jake Paul. He's not going to lose subscribers over this unless he comes out and says something horrific or something like that in it. But I don't think he will, so I don't think that's really a problem. I wonder if we sleep when we're on the channel. I don't think we do. Okay, which one's the green gate? This one. This one is green. Let's go, let's go. Let's get on the train and go to France. We're gonna get on the train and go to France. We're going a bit fast to get on the train to go to France. Okay, €300 to go to Calais. Jesus Christ. Ripped off. By the way, I have no idea whatsoever in my life why someone is paying me £47,000 or euros to deliver empty pallets from Edinburgh to Toulouse. Empty pallets. There's got to be something dodgy going on there. It's drugs. It's got to be drugs. There's no, like, you don't, like, I thought with pallets most of the time you had to pay people to take them away. I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe I just have a lot of pallets, but 40-something thousand for empty pallets does not seem correct to me, to take them to the south of France. But hey, I've said before, you're a truck sim. At the end of the day, if it was like real life, I'd be a truck driver, because the amount of bloody money you make for one trip is ridiculous. But I'm okay with that. But I also think that paying someone the same price to take empty pallets somewhere as paying someone the same price to take like livestock or, you know, tinned tomatoes is a bit weird, because I don't know why Toulouse needs empty pallets. Maybe it's like bonfire night and they need to make like the largest bonfire in the world or something. I don't know, but you know, there we go. Just Euro trucks and things, I guess. So yeah, that's what I've been watching on YouTube. It is interesting to see the side of things, you know, and how the hell did I misjudge that so much? psychological aspect. Oh god, I've got to drive on the right, haven't I? The psychological aspect of YouTube and what it does to people and how it affects them, and I think it's what happened? Did I get stuck? Apparently I can't take corners. Just like in FIFA. I want to go right, left up here, sorry. Is that getting used to driving on the right again? It's a bit weird. Just completely cutting that corner, no problems. And we're going to go on the A16 from Calais to Toulouse. That's a beautiful looking sunset coming up. Do enjoy my sunsets in... we might miss it though because I'm getting tired. That's a shame. We could drive for a bit, I guess. We might have to. It might not be a stop here. I love that ticking indicator sound. It's really nice. I know some people have said that they really enjoy it. I do too. It's nice actually to play a game which is a bit more chilled because I've been playing like Spider-Man recently and FIFA and Tomb Raider and you know, like I say it, but I think someone commented saying like, oh, Spider-Man ASMR shouldn't be a thing, and I tried to explain to them my point of view, but I don't think they bothered to read it, because my point of view on like my channel has always been like, see, yeah, it is a nice sunset. In terms of the content I make, has always been, I believe that ASMR doesn't anymore refer to the what it actually means. So autonomous, meridian sensory response. You know, the tingles that people get. So I don't believe that that is what it refers to anymore. I think what it refers to is more generally speaking oh, there's a place we can sleep here apparently. Where is that? Let's stop here on the right maybe. Oh, here we go. French toll roads. Ugh. So I believe it actually more applies to a general relaxing video, you know, watching a video on YouTube that is there for the purpose of relaxation. Let's try and park up here. Okay, this one looks like we could fit in this one. There we go. Have a rest here. Oh, it looks like we were going to get the... it must be coming up to summer if it's 5 AM and it's already getting a bit light. There's the sunrise. See, we saw the sunset. There's the sunrise. Yeah, I believe that ASMR now kind of refers to a relaxing video. So watching a video either to help you sleep or to help you relax, to help you chill out on there. So then in that respect I believe that there are different grades of it. So say a normal video you would watch, like a normal Let's Play or something like that, would be like a 10, you know. So not particularly chilled out. It's not there meant for you to relax. It's there to entertain you, perhaps, or guide you, or do something like that. It's there for you to focus on a lot. And then number one would be something like a video purposely there to make you sleep or give you tingles. You know, like a tapping video or something which has no real which doesn't really require you to pay attention as such to the video. It's not informing you of anything. It's probably it's purposely not entertaining. It's there to induce that kind of you know, make you sleep or help you sleep or, you know, induce, you know, the kind of like tingling sensation in you. But then you have 2 to 9 on that scale, where, you know, it changes. You know, it's fluid. It's not this is ASMR, this is not, because who is qualified to judge that? You know, no one. So I believe there's a scale, you know, and I think people judging by, you know, the video and what the video is about, and I think I'm fairly clear on a lot of videos, they'll be able to guess whether or not my video would be purposely very relaxing or not. And say for example something like Euro Truck Sim, this is meant to be a lot more relaxing. I would count this as maybe a 3 or 4 on the scale, you know, where you're not really probably watching this for the gameplay of it. You're more here probably to listen to my voice and relax and chill out, whether it's to sleep or just have it on there in the background chilling or something like that. I don't think people's watching this video for the high-end Euro Truck Sim 2 gameplay. But you know, I do other videos, probably things like Spider-Man is probably right up there on a 7 or 8, but it doesn't mean that that 7 or 8 makes it a bad video. It just means that there's a wide variety, you know, and variety is the spice of life. One of the things I look at nowadays, I go on Reddit, the ASMR Reddit, and I look for videos, and I see so many videos which are just the same thing over and over again. I feel like there really is only a handful of genuinely creative, innovative ASMR creators on YouTube. And by the way, I don't count myself in that. But people who are genuinely like expanding the you know, or pushing the boundaries on things and really creating something interesting, you know. And I'm talking about people like Goodnight Moon. If you don't know her, she does amazing videos. Ephemeral Rift, Venetian Sailor, even like Gentle Whispering, who has, you know, been there since the beginning, you know, one of the largest creators. I still feel like she is creating different things in her videos. Sure, the fact that she's in them all is, you know, she doesn't play different characters most of the time. She does occasionally, I guess. You know, means that they can have a similarity to them, but I still think that she does create different things. You know, she did one recently, I think, on like a Tesla. I think it was her Tesla or something like that, and it was kind of like a guide to it. And it was really cool. You know, and then there's a lot of content creators. I'm not going to name any because you know who they are, who will literally recycle the same shit over and over again. Or the worst ones nowadays, which are the ones who maybe they do vlogs, or maybe they do beauty videos, or maybe they do something like that, and then they're like, oh yeah, no, I think ASMR seems to be the hot new thing. Yeah, let's just make a video where it's me just talking to a camera for half an hour and upload that. And then people are like, oh my god, that's so good. And it's like, this is not advancing the genre. You know, it's like Fortnite syndrome of the Battle Royale kind of games, where you just see all these Battle Royale games come out and they're the same thing over and over again. You're like, this is not advancing the genre at all. And there's a potential downside to that. You might say, well, you know, people can make videos however they like, and of course they can. There's no problem with that. But the downside is that if you have you know, enough sewage flowing into something, then eventually, you know, it's just going to completely all turn to sewage. You know, if you have a nice lake and you might have a sewage pipe and it drips a little bit of sewage in every now and then, it probably won't do too much harm to it. If you have a lake and that sewage is flooding in, eventually that whole lake will be sewage, just by association with the sewage. Maybe that's harsh. As I said, anyone can make videos and they can do what they want, and if they're proud of what they're doing and uploading, then it's not for me to say whether or not it's bad or good. Like, it isn't, because a lot of people probably think my videos are bad, and I respect that decision. For them to think that, it might be wrong, but I'm joking. You know, there are, you can see the ones out there who are phoning it in at this point, who are really, really phoning it in. They're like, a lot of them have quite a lot of subscribers as well, and you just think, and I think they kind of got to a point whereby they're bored of what they're doing, but maybe they don't have enough, like, either they don't have the creativeness to come up with something interesting, or they just are scared. That was an amber light. That's outrageous. Or they're just scared. Like they're scared to venture out and do something different because maybe they tried it once and then they didn't get as many views as they normally do, and they've got to pay their bills. Hey, you got to do what you got to do to pay those bills. Life is hard. You've got to go and do that. But that then steps into my thing of, I think I've spoken about before, where people do YouTube a lot of the time. They say they do YouTube because they want to escape their dead-end job, or they don't want to have a dead-end job, and then they effectively turn YouTube into a dead-end job because they create a channel which has to create the same things over and over again. I was watching a channel the other day. I won't name the channel either because I might not be very nice to it, but I was watching it though, and it was one of these channels where it's usually a young guy, and he was a young guy, so he's 19, so I don't want to also slag him off because he had over 1 million subscribers and he's 19, so he's doing a lot of things right. But essentially he was a person who kind of in a way reacts to videos. He was one of these people who puts out a lot of this this person has to stop, or YouTube has got to stop this person, and then it'll show somebody on YouTube who's probably got mental problems, to be fair, and is or attention seeking, and they do things that this person obviously can turn around and not necessarily fake outrage at, but just turn around and be like, oh, this is wrong, this person shouldn't do this, YouTube have got to stop them. And I was thinking, this person, they have a lot. I watched a few of his videos because I was genuinely intrigued about it, and a lot of them did seem like he was phoning it in, seriously phoning it in. The videos would weirdly they'd be about somebody and they'd talk about maybe a video they did or something like that, and then it's almost like they would just abruptly stop, he just couldn't be bothered to do any more on it, and the video was only 5 minutes long or something like that, and maybe they just thought, well, I need to keep it short and sweet and snappy, and that's my style, which is again completely fair. But it did genuinely feel like they were trying to get to the bottom of someone's content or channel maybe, and actually dive in deep into what they were doing, but just couldn't be bothered to do research and just left it at 5 minutes and went, yeah, there you go, upload it. And I kind of was like, oh my god, that genuinely feels like they're phoning it in. And I was like, I wonder if this person is actually happy with what they're doing, or they're just seriously well, I'm making money off it, and I'm 19 and I've got 1 million subs. Because again, the problem is, as I said, you do YouTube to escape your dead-end job, and then you literally turn it into a dead-end job where you have to make the same content over and over again, or else you're going to lose your subscribers, you're going to lose the money you make, and you end up probably hating yourself for it because you aren't actually creating what you want to create, or maybe you don't have the ability to. There's many times where I look at people's videos and I'm like, I wish I could do that. That is incredible. I look at Danny O'Dwyer on NoClip, and he makes these amazing gaming documentaries. I'm like, I genuinely wish I could do that. I do not have the skill to edit videos like that. I do not have the ability to even think up, these sort of gaming documentaries, or have the guts to go out there and do that, And people are probably like, oh yeah, you could do that, whatever. I couldn't, I've found my ability level in making videos, and I'm at it. But I am also thankful and well, thank God there are people out there who can make these videos so I can enjoy them. But I can imagine if you were a really big channel and maybe there's somebody coming up and you're looking at them over your shoulder going, oh, they're just making straight out better content than I am, and I can't make it any better. It must be quite scary. It must be quite scary for people. So it's interesting. I always talk about YouTube in the end on these videos, I think, and just the thing behind it, because I think it is going to go down as a phenomenon. I genuinely believe that. I know there's a lot of people in the world who don't watch YouTube, probably never will do in their life, maybe. Probably still think it's about compilation clips of people falling off ladders or something like that. You know, I don't realise that there's a lot of interesting, genuinely crafted content on there, better and more entertaining than a lot of stuff you see on TV nowadays. But you know, I definitely think like probably since about 2010, like this is the decade. You know, 2010 is the decade of YouTube. You know, where we've seen it grow, where we've seen people make billions of it, where we've seen, you know, the rise of these people, and it has become a mainstay. And certainly because I think the audience of YouTube is so young, it will stay that way, because they're not just going to turn 21 and go, oh, don't watch YouTube anymore. Sure, their taste will probably change, and you know, the people who are making content for them now, they might change with their kind of age range of people, but you know, they might also move on and watch different things. We all do. There's channels that I used to watch when I first started watching YouTube, which I just don't watch anymore. You know, because their content doesn't interest me anymore, perhaps, or because I found something which I think is better. You know, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, I think, you know, probably in the next 10 years, I just have this feeling that normal television, by that I mean like your, you know, subscription television, or your, in the UK, like free TV channels, I think they'll just become a thing of the past. I really do. Like, I really think that iPlayer, on the BBC iPlayer app, it's like, I don't know why people just don't watch things like that. Or, you know, I just think that there's going to be well, there already is a massive change, isn't there? You know, when I grew up, you know, 20 years ago, probably more than that, maybe 25. You know, you'd have in the UK anyway. This is, you know, BBC One, 2, you know, ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5 was a big thing when it launched. There was 5 channels now, and that was what you watched. And then if you were rich, you could get Sky, and that would have loads of channels, but they would all be a bit crap, apart from having the football and stuff. And that was kind of like the 90s, shall we say. And then I guess like that started to change with things like Netflix, and then obviously other things have spiraled off from Netflix, and YouTube also growing as well, has changed to the point whereby it's like, I just think €1,000 for speeding violation. That seems harsh. At least I'm getting 40 grand for this trip. But yeah, I do believe that like the YouTube generation is, you know, it's just led to a fundamental change in, you know, the way that the entertainment people want nowadays. You know, because YouTube has led to, I think, a lot of people wanting things for free, like this sense of entitlement to, well, content should be free, which you know, is not necessarily the way to go. The problem with that is, you know, someone's paying at the end of the day, because most people can't afford to make content. Well, I think nearly everybody can't afford to make content full time without some source of income. So then either you're getting sponsorship, which is ads, or you know, or ads of some kind, or you're kind of making money in other ways, maybe slightly more nefarious ways. But I also do feel that things like Patreon, or like, you know, Twitch, you know, with subs and things like that, people are now coming around to this thought of like, actually, you know, if we want this person, if I want this person to entertain me, you know, on a regular basis, it probably is worth me actually, you know, giving them some money, shall we say. I know that sounds weird. That's not my veiled way to say give me money. I'm just saying that, like, you know, if you watch a Twitch streamer, for example, a a lot, and you're like, you know what, I watch this person like 2 or 3 times a week. It would make sense to drop them a few quid, you know, a quid a week or something, $1 a month, which is essentially what or a bit more, $1.25, whatever it is, which is what the subscription is, you know. And yet, some people will turn around and will just bulk at the price, be like, I'm not paying that much. I'm not paying $5 or 5 quid to subscribe to someone on Twitch when I can get it for free. That's ridiculous. You know. So they have to kind of incentivize, and people have to do like, you know, videos, and they have to lock content behind paywalls and things like that, because otherwise, it isn't. And it's a weird concept. And don't get me wrong, I don't donate to everybody I watch. You know, I have a YouTube Premium account, so I don't get ads on YouTube, but that money, I guess, it's like a subscription which goes to content creators out and about. And you know, I don't watch a lot of Twitch, but I have an Amazon Prime sub I use each month to someone I'm watching, to kind of donate to them. But you know, I don't donate to every single person I watch or anything like that, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's just interesting that the world is changing around us, you know. And when you know, it is strange, because I don't want to be that person who's like, oh well, things were different when I was a kid. But when you see, you know, I'm 37 now, and when you see the way things have changed and how things used to be and how they are now, it is really interesting to kind of compare the differences, and like how much the world has changed since like the year 2000. You know, in 18 years, the world has changed almost to unrecognisable status. You know, with, you know, the technology we have now in certain things. I just hit a truck, but didn't get a crash damage. That's lucky. The technology, the social impacts, and you know, things like that. It's incredible, and it's happened so fast that to think what's going to happen in the next 18 years is actually quite scary. You know, it could be, again, completely unrecognisable. It could just completely implode upon itself, and we'll be left with, you know, the ashes of what we used to have. You don't know. We just don't know. But yeah. Anyway, I think the last thing I wanted to talk about, or the last thing I had kind of like in my mind to talk about, was the Telltale Games stuff. So, for those of you who don't know, Telltale Games, the studio who made the Walking Dead series, The Wolf Among Us, loads of kind of like series with their kind of like narrative style of making choices and those choices affecting story and that kind of type of stuff. They've essentially closed down. You know, they laid off like pretty much 90% of their staff, and pretty much turned around and said that other than the project they were working on at the time, which was the Netflix Minecraft spin-offy thing, they're going to pretty much cease to exist, including the fact that it seems unlikely they're going to be able to finish the current season of Walking Dead, which was the final season, on there, which a lot of people had paid for up front, and they're not going to get that. And I mean, obviously, a lot of people are very sad at this. And listen, I didn't play that many Telltale games. I never got into Walking Dead, in all honesty. But I loved The Wolf Among Us. I loved The Wolf Among Us so much. That one resonated with me. I think everybody's got a Telltale game that really worked for them. Whether it was Borderlands, whether it was, you know, The Wolf Among Us, Walking Dead, you know, one of those types of games. Whatever it was, it resonated, and we were supposed to get The Wolf Among Us 2. Well, I think we were supposed to originally get it this year, but I think it got pushed to next year. Well, obviously now we're not going to get it at all, and that makes me very, very sad, because I really wanted to play that game. Really did. I was so looking forward to seeing that story, and because it had so many interesting characters and plots and things like that. You know, it was based upon the Fables universe, which had like all the famous fables, like, you know, Little Red Riding Hood and Beauty and the Beast and that type of stuff, and yeah, it was just fascinating, but also combined with this kind of very gritty real world. It was brilliant. I thoroughly recommend it to anybody out there. Just know that you're not going to get The Wolf Among Us 2, which is sad. But yeah, it was fantastic, so I'm incredibly sad I'm not going to get it. I will say this though, there must have been some horrendous mismanagement going on at Telltale for them to have gone bust so quickly with such little notice. There are reports that people were literally employed only, say, a week before, they essentially shut down. I think one guy said he had to move halfway across the world to go and work there, and it was like a dream for him to work there. And then a week later, they say they're shutting down, and so he's just absolutely stranded. There's, people were just completely unaware at the company, apart from, I guess, a high level, that this was going to happen. So there must have been some serious mismanagement going on. I think the majority of people who were laid off had no severance pay, so they, were just stuck with nothing. Just goodbye. You don't have a job anymore. Good luck. That's it. And yeah, it's horrific. That is absolutely horrific. And as much as people might be pissed off that they're not going to get the rest of their Walking Dead game, or they're not going to get their Wolf Among Us 2, like, there are human beings out there who are not, just don't have a job anymore. They're not able to pay their rent. They're not able to buy food. Full stop. And that's the real tragedy in the situation. But as I said, there must have been some serious mismanagement there. I've got my own theories on it, none of which I think we'll ever know the truth about, but I think one of the things they did was just spread themselves too thin. So they had all these different, they seemed to just have this kind of like penchant for picking up big licenses. So they did Minecraft, Game of Thrones, what else was the other one they did that was big? They do a Jurassic Park. I don't think they did. I think there was a rumour about that. But they had these big franchises, big name franchises, which must have cost them, if not like an upfront fee, certainly a percentage of profits, And I feel like they should have stuck with more things like The Wolf Among Us, which wouldn't probably have had as much of a cost associated with it as, say, Game of Thrones or Minecraft or something like that. And then they just made so many of the games, and they just didn't innovate that much in them. And listen, a game will go a long way with a good story, and I think the majority of them had a really bloody good story. But also, if you weren't into the subject matter that the game was about, so if you weren't into the Game of Thrones or Borderlands or The Walking Dead, where was the incentive for you to play the game? Because there weren't really that many mechanics, or Batman they did as well. There weren't really the mechanics in there to keep you invested in that game, unless you were a fan of the story and characters already. I think The Wolf Among Us was the slightly different one, because that brought me into it, because I watched obviously a trailer and was like, ooh, this looks really interesting, this looks really different, I haven't seen anything like this before. And it was still relatively new in the cycle of Telltale Games. After that they kind of went a bit crazy and just had this kind of like shotgun effect, like scattergun, of just sign up everything to Telltale and release it, And yeah, it's sad. If you look at the sales figures, they were just going down and down and down and down, and they seem to have nearly 300 staff, I think, which seems horrendously so much considering. And I'm not going to turn around and say that their games weren't impressive or anything, but they weren't the most complex, and they did all seem to run on the same engine that they had run on for a long time. So what were those 300 staff actually doing there? Were they developing a new engine which they were hoping to use, and they just overstretched and didn't give themselves enough time, or I don't know, were they just seriously mismanaged? And one of the things which people levy at Twitch a lot, and I'm actually think I might need to sleep again now, weirdly. We're not going to make 4 hours on what we've got, so we'll pull over here and do that. But a lot of the things people levy at Twitch is they have so many staff, they don't worry about that. And I look at Twitch making a profit. And I guess maybe because they're owned by Amazon, they don't really. But I guess maybe that was the way they maybe felt like they had this corner of the market like sewn up, and they didn't need to worry, and they could just employ people. The money was raking in from The Walking Dead. And did I sleep? No, I didn't. Sorry. That would have been embarrassing. Okay, it's night time again. We haven't got very far left, I don't think, now, to be fair. So yeah, it's very, very sad about what happened. It's very sad that this was a thing that happened, and it just goes to show though that there is no studio, which is too big to actually shut down. And one of the things it got me thinking. About was what part do microtransactions play in this? And I know that sounds weird, like, what do you mean? Well, I was thinking about it from a point of view of when you buy these Telltale games, you buy them and usually they were like, I don't know, 30 quid maybe to get all the episodes, something like that. And that was it. And then you look at other computer games nowadays which are releasing DLC, like Euro Truck Sim has probably had at least 60 quid of my money. Maybe, yeah, probably about 60 quid of my money because they release expansions for it. I know that's not microtransactions, but bear with me on this. Look at something like FIFA, where you buy it and then a lot of people spend money on the packs. Not me, but a lot of people. Or you have other games which are really bad. The loot boxes, Overwatch, stuff like that, where you're buying the game and then you're also paying the microtransaction tax. On top of that, where you feel like you have to buy it because the grinding in game is just too much for you. And I was thinking, like, back in the climate, I guess, when Telltale was successful, many years ago, the original Walking Dead, we didn't have that. It was, you brought a game and that was pretty much it. Maybe you got some DLC for it and that was it. And their business model, I think, worked a bit more because it was like, well, you can buy each episode or you buy the whole lot and get a little bit of a discount on it, and then we'll have another game out next year, and that was it. And they already, as I said, had games come out quite often, so I guess it was that. But then what these big companies do so well is they monetize their game they have out. Games as a service is a thing which people go on about, and they monetize their games so well. Everything nowadays, big AAA games have loot boxes associated with them. I personally hate it, but from a business point of view, you can see it makes money for them. Hearthstone's another example of that. That game's free, obviously, but I've spent a lot of money on that game, and I'm sure a lot of people out there have as well. And you constantly do, because they constantly release new things every year, basically. And I'm like, well, what effect does that have on people's disposable income? Because everybody has disposable income, and so if you're, say, a fan of Overwatch, maybe you brought Overwatch a year ago and it was 40 quid, but you're then spending money which you may have spent on a Telltale game to give it a chance, maybe something that you weren't that into. Maybe you're not a big Batman fan, but you saw Batman on sale for like a tenner and you were like, I could actually get 5 loot boxes in Overwatch for that. I'll just spend it on that because I play that game, and not giving other games a chance because you're spending all your disposable income on games with microtransactions. How much of that is a problem nowadays in games, because we see a lot of companies who were around the B level of games. So if you turn around and go, your AAA games or your big A games, which generally monetize and maybe have loot boxes and they're 60 quid. You have your indie games, which generally price between, say, £5 to £15, and then you used to have this whole load of games in between. Shame I'm not getting to see this bridge. Can't really see much now. There we go. You used to have this B rank of games, which were maybe like 30 to 40 quid. And it's disappeared now because I think the AAA games have just milked the money out of that sector, and we're kind of like quite happy as people to pick up an indie game every now and then, I think, at that price point, and have an expectation level of what that should be. But I think when it comes to the kind of like the B-rated games, it just doesn't really exist anymore, and it's so sad that that's come about. And like, I completely understand about why microtransactions exist. Microtransactions, not loot boxes, okay? Microtransactions exist because there are people out there, and it's a smaller ratio, but there are people out there whose time is more important to them than their money, okay? So when you're younger, generally you have your time rich, but maybe not money rich. As you get older, you either have a job maybe that takes up a lot of time, or you have family, or you have other activities which do things. And so gaming, going into a game which may require you to grind, you just don't have the time to do that. Like, I look at the new Assassin's Creed Odyssey coming out, and they're like, it's even bigger than Origins. I'm like, no, I don't have time for this. And a lot of people might be going, that's brilliant, because I completed Origins in a few weeks, and I didn't feel like I got my 60 quid's worth of thing, whatever. And I'm just sitting here going, oh my god, do I have to play this game for 80 hours? Like, is there not a fast mode? Do I have to grind like before to get my levels up? And that's where the microtransactions come in. Then they're like, no, you don't have to do that. Don't worry. If you just give us another 20 quid, we can take the grind away from it, and you can just play the story elements and enjoy the game a bit more. And instead of taking you 60 hours to complete the game, you can do it in 30. And you're like, oh, okay, I understand why this exists, because it's 20 quid for this person might not be that much money, and they might be quite happy to pay that. Because they might have a decent job, good income, or they might have a lot of disposable income at that point. So they're like, yeah, sure, I'll pay that. Or in Hearthstone again, they might be like, well, I want to enjoy Hearthstone, but I don't want to grind for hours to get gold and do arena runs, do all this. I want to have the meta decks. Okay, well, I'll just drop 100 quid in this game, and I can get this full expansion, or maybe 50 to 60 would be better per expansion, but that's still like 150 quid a year. But they don't mind, because, as I said, their time is more valuable than their money to them. So that's why microtransactions exist. That's why good microtransactions exist. Bad microtransactions exist because of greed, because people turn around and went, oh, there are people out there who will buy things. Well, let's just make things where people can only buy them. They can't earn them now, and that's when there's a problem. Or let's change the functionality of the game so that it's even more grindier, so that you feel like you have to buy them. Yes, this is great. Or, I know, let's make different rarities of things, and we'll put in a load of things which are a bit crap, and then we'll sell these loot boxes, and then in those loot boxes you have the chance to get something which is worth a lot, but you may only pay a small amount. However, that chance is going to be really small because, money. And that's bad. Like, I have no problem with, like, I play the Elder Scrolls Online, and, like, I don't like the store they have, because they have loot boxes in there. They used to not have them, and it used to be things would go up in the store, and if you wanted to buy them, you could just buy them. And now things are exclusive to the crates that they have, and it is gambling. Like, you put down money, and you have the ability to potentially get something out of it, which is just utter crap. Like, it's gambling, and like, people are, like, governments are cottoning onto it now. Councils and things like that, who are there to protect people, are actually starting to do their jobs and actually trying to protect people. And of course, companies like EA and all that lot will fight it tooth and nail, because they make billions off it. They make so much money, it's ridiculous. But it will fall. Let me tell you this, it will fall. Or you will have to maybe authorise yourself to show that you're over 18 to be able to do it, which will eliminate a lot of the profit, because they know full well that the people buying them are under 18. They know it. So yeah, and maybe they're using their parents' card, and maybe that will continue, or whatever, I don't know. But hopefully parents can be made a bit more aware this stuff. This is not right, you know. Loot boxes are not right in video games. They have no place in video games, in my opinion. But microtransactions do, so I think there's a difference there. Anyway, I went off on a microtransaction rant there, didn't I, when I was talking about Telltale, but the bottom line was, you know, I wonder if that has affected people's ability to buy the B-level games, and whether or not, you know, they just, maybe they just got a bit too long in the tooth, you know. You know, things happen, you have to innovate sometimes, and I guess maybe they didn't. I don't know. It's sad though. It is really sad. The final thing I wanted to talk about was a game I've just started to play, which randomly popped up on radar. My girlfriend told me about it, and she was going on at me to get it. Called I think it's called Pathfinder Kingmaker, and it's an RPG in the style of Pillars of Eternity or Divinity: Original Sin. More so Pillars of Eternity, because it has got real-time combat, but it's like that kind of isometric strategy style of combat. It looks really nice. It has a really nice art style to it. Got all the usual things you would love. Very, very in-depth character building, creation and stuff. It's based upon Dungeons and Dragon rules. Really interesting story. It did something, and I don't want to spoil at the beginning, which I've never seen another video game do. The only thing I will say was the things you did in the opening tutorial, the moral choices you made directly affected, actually I really am spoiling it kind of now, not really. Let's just say some of the choices you made in the beginning affected what companions you would have. It was very interesting, and they tricked you on a lot of stuff, and I was like, whoa, that is very interesting. And they set up kind of like protagonist very well there by doing things like that, and I was really, really impressed with it to begin with. Yeah, it's really good so far. The combat is, I mean, if you've played Pillars of Eternity, you know, you kind of know what it is. You have abilities, you have a party, you know, you can choose who your party are attacking, you know, it's kind of that real-timey thing, but it's very much coming back into fashion now, and I think rightly so, because it was always a really interesting system. I personally prefer Divinity's system, because I liked more of the strategy that you could do in Divinity, like the combining of, you know, two different players' skills or two different characters' skills. We need to go straight on there. You know, in a case of like maybe one of your characters is like got earth magic and can create like oil, and then another one has fire, and then they can ignite that oil up next, you know, and you had to think about what order people are attacking in, whereas this feels a bit more like a kind of micromanaging the combat type thing, you know, and choosing how you want your character to spec up and stuff like that. I still like it. I still like Pillars of Eternity a lot. If you haven't played that series, I thoroughly recommend Pillars of Eternity. Again, I think the Divinity series is better, personally, but it's like saying, hey, do you want a bowl of chocolate ice cream or strawberry ice cream? It's like, it's whatever flavour you like. It's still fucking ice cream. It's still amazing. You know, so I'm not saying one's good, one's bad. I'm saying they're both incredible. It's just a personal preference on there. And so far, I think the story's really interesting in Pathfinder Kingmaker. Really, really interesting. It came out of nowhere, as I said, out of nowhere. I think the base game is like $34.99. Then they have different specs up from that, which just get you in game little bonuses, things you don't need them. And so I paid $34.99. Yeah, I talk about the death of this B-level game. I really should get my lorry tricked out, shouldn't I? My truck. Yeah, and this kind of fits firmly in there, and I think Pillars and Divinity do as well, where they're not the, you know, 50 quid games or the $60 games as Americans call them, but they are slightly less, but they give you so much for that money. Like they give you hours, and you know, the great thing about something like, say, Divinity or Pillars is like that replayability, because you know, you make different choices, you have different characters, you know, so you can play those games at least twice, and you can have, you know, your character being different, you know, your main character, you can choose different characters, and you know, one playthrough will probably take you 50-60 hours, so you know, 2 playthroughs is getting you a lot of bang for your buck. Yeah, they're brilliant, you know. I really like them. I'm really glad that this game released. Again, I think it's a bad time for it to release. Like, I have no idea why they released it now. Toulouse discovered. We've never been to Toulouse before. I just thought, hey, I've got nothing to lose. I'm sorry, I'll get my coat. This was a long one, wasn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, this was a long one. I had a lot to talk about though, so I know I needed a long one. But yeah, it's a really good game. I thoroughly recommend checking it out. I'll do a video on it and just explain a bit about it, because I like to push these things, you know, when I not when I discover something that I like, but when something I know is not going to be like on everyone's radar. You know, I like to just do a video on it to say, hey, this thing exists. You can, maybe you'd like it. I don't know. They're not paying me, but I wish they were. Dream come true, right? I think it's a Russian company that made it as well. But I will say, I think the art style is one of the nicest I've seen in this type of game. Looks really good. It really surprised me how good it looked. Divinity Original Sin 2 looks really good. It looks better than Pillars, I think. But I think this might look better, weirdly. But yeah, it's really nice. Really nice. It seems very well done. The reviews have been very positive for it so far from people. Okay, I need my map back, thank you. Looks like a dodgy neighbourhood around here, doesn't it? Phew, well, we are coming to the end now. My throat is so sore, I think, from just constantly talking. I need to take a break after this. This is like the 5th video I've recorded today. I did 2 last night. So, yeah, maybe I need to take a bit of a break and rest the old vocal cords. Luckily, I don't talk a lot off camera, so I guess I did get that. Hey there, Mr. Security Man. How's it going? Shit. Trader damage 28%. Yikes. Can we... okay. I need to just rewind a bit so I can go over that. And by the way, there's no way on earth I'm parking this up. Unless it's really easy. No. Wait, no. Sorry, I'm in a hurry. Whew, that's a 1,000-mile journey. 52 hours, 855 litres of fuel consumed. We got £47,000 for it. That's pretty good. We're up to 100,000 now. That's pretty good. Might be able to buy another truck if I wanted. Anyway, let's finish up there. We're level 19. That's good. Till next time, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.